So listen, I'm here at the High Food Bank, and what we're doing here is we're raising money for this great cause. Look at all this food. They've got this thing called Walk the Line, right, where you walk around the borough, isn't it? And lots of people do it to raise money, but obviously with the whole lockdown, can't really do that. What we're gonna do, we're gonna get like a couple of treadmills, and we're gonna walk the same distance, but we're gonna walk it in a studio, and we're gonna try and raise as much money as we can. You listening out there?
It's the first time we've had someone or an organisation offer to come and do something for us, and that's so exciting.
And I think it's a good idea to help other people.
I've had to use the food bank myself a few times and I'm really grateful for it.
So please donate. Hi and welcome along to AFTV for our news daily. By the way, that's Walk the Line that we were talking about there. What we're going to be doing on Tuesday, we're going live. We're going to be raising money for the Islington Food Bank. The guys there are doing a great job, right? Every day supplying food to people where they can just come and pick it up, especially at the moment. It's tough times with what's been going on with COVID. And we're trying to support them, right? So please get involved with that. On Tuesday, we're going to be doing a live broadcast. We're going to be walking the line. We were going to walk around Islington to raise money for the charity. But what we're going to be doing, obviously, because of lockdown, we're going to be walking around Islington, but on a treadmill, right? And it's going to be a North London Derby special with some Arsenal fans and some Tottenham fans. So you make sure you check that out. Walking the Line on Tuesday. Right now, I'm going to bring in Mo. I've got a different setup today. Where have I got Mo? I've got a different setup today because I'm still at the studio. I haven't been able to get back home to do the show. But we've got Mo joining us today. How you doing, Mo?
Not too bad, man. You're obviously working hard if you haven't been able to get home yet.
No, trust me, it's been a long day. We're doing a lot of content today. We was shooting a load of videos and looking forward to the game at the weekend, which, of course, Wolves.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to look forward to days, but, you know, we'll see what happens.
Well, let's start with last night, you know, because, you know, that was positive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Come on, man. Lift up yourself, man. Was that not positive?
Of course it was. But you know, what's, you know, using a golf terminology here, what's par? When you're playing Mulder away in the Europa League, what's a par score?
2-0?
Yeah. So slightly, ever so slightly positive, you know. It's kind of what we expected. So I'm not going to use that as kind of like a thing to get excited about. That is what I expected, slightly better than that. I really, really enjoyed the goal made in Hale End. In fact, 2 goals made in Hale End from yesterday, but especially the ESR and Balogun link up. Really enjoyed it. But listen, Premier League's a different kettle of fish. We've struggled a lot in the Premier League. So I'm not going to take that as a reason to get unnecessarily optimistic. Let's not forget, man of the match from that game is now suspended, can't play. So, you know, it's not going to be easy against Wolves and Mulder. We always knew that it was going to be easy.
Yeah, but come on, man. You've got to, you know, at least we're going into the game with a positive. You know what I mean? It's not going in off the back of a 3-0 defeat like what we was against Leeds or stuff like that. It's something to hang on to. There would have been positivity flowing around the camp. I don't think it's just because of the fact that we won the game.
Yeah.
The performance was better. You know what I mean? I know it's Mulder. I know what you're going to say, but at least we were on the front foot. We were attacking. It was quite an exciting performance.
Yeah, but look, I'm just pulling up the fixtures here, and I won't bother doing it. But if I was to look at all the Premier League games following Europa League games this season, we can make that argument that, oh, it's positive, you played fairly well, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, it just hasn't followed through into the Premier League game. So, yeah, as I said, it's one of those ones where it's hard to be confident right now. But, you know, and look, then again, the last one I've seen, Dundalk, we beat them 3-0. We went and beat United 1-0 away from home. Hopefully it's one of those ones. But
There you go.
Sure, but then we beat Rapid.
Come on, man.
Robbie, we beat Rapid Vienna, and then we went and lost 1-0 to Leicester at home. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just I think our league form is very, very separate to our Europa League form. We beat Molde the first time round 4-1. What happened after that? 3-0 Villa, and then 0-0 Leeds. So my point is, we have to be realistic about this. We expected that, 2-0, maybe a little bit better against Molde. That's what we got. That's an average score. We just need to make sure that we do it in the league, and that's the challenge.
Yeah, Mo, what I'm trying to say, for me, what I was encouraged about was the fact that it was more the performance. It was more attacking intent in their play. There was more pace in the game. There was, somebody like Reece Nelson, I think he should start against Wolves. I liked his performance. He was aggressive. He was, it was pacey. I liked it, and that's what I want to see from Arsenal. That's what's been lacking in some of the games recently. It's all been too slow and ponderous, but this was a good performance.
But Robbie, the performance is obviously really linked to the opposition. If I can pick who I'm doing a 100-meter sprint against, I'll look like Usain Bolt. The point is, if I'm up against top quality sprinters, I'm just going to turn around and go home after about 1 second of the race because I know I don't stand a chance. They're extremes, but that's my point. It's about who you're up against. And I don't think Molde really have got the ability to make us not look good. So the performance is always going to be good. I feel like, I don't know if you truly believe what you're saying, because if you do, you're very naive to think that it's truly reflective of where we are right now in terms of.
Listen. I know that we've been playing poorly. I know that, it's only Molde, and obviously they're probably, if they was playing in our leagues, they'd probably be a championship team, probably, yeah? I know that, but you've got to hold on to positives. And one of the positives, as I said, was the performance. It wasn't like a boring, everybody behind the ball, stuff like that. It was a performance with intent, driven by Pepe. Obviously, he looked like he had a point to prove, and the real shame is that, like you said, he won't be playing in the game at the weekend. But I like the performance. You could see that they wanted to go out there and prove a point. Now, obviously, what would you rather going on the back of a defeat? You know what I mean? And everybody else saying,
There's negativity, then there's realism, and then there's optimism. A lot of the time, I choose optimism. Like when I feel like, there is a platform to be optimistic on. This one, we just have to be realistic. What I'm saying is there's no reason to be negative. If you came out here saying, oh, we're probably going to lose against Wolves and we weren't good enough, I'll say, no, come on. The boys did the job that was in front of them and, they did well, whatever. But being completely realistic about this, they did no more than, not much more than what we expect. And it doesn't give me any additional confidence, really, that we're going to go and translate that into Premier League form, because I've just given you the examples of what's happened already this season in terms of Europa League, a Europa League win followed by a Premier League defeat, Molde Leeds, for example. So, I just think that's a bit realistic here. Our Europa League form is completely different to our Premier League form, and that is because the quality of opposition, how they set up, is completely different. And in fact, if you think about it, in the Molde game, the first half was pretty average. I wasn't very happy with the first half at all. And only maybe once we've really got the measure of the opposition and thought, these really can't hurt us, that naturally that handbrake lifted. Sometimes you got on a pitch and you have to size your opponent up a little bit. And that dictates how you play. Arsenal didn't take it to them from the first minute. I think we actually did kind of think, all right, what we're going to do today, and we can do something against these boys. So even then, there's still a lot of reasons to be cautious.
Okay, let's get a couple of comments here. Bravat says, my prediction: Arsenal would beat Wolves and Spurs. Mark my word, he says. When expectations is low, Arsenal shine. When expectation is high, pressure mounts and they collapse. Expectation is low right now. D7 says we're going to be back to a negative defensive back five against Wolves. The interesting thing is about this game, Mo, is that I was doing an interview, it'll be out tomorrow. I did an interview with a Leeds channel today. Sorry, Leeds. I've still got Leeds on my brain. Wolves channel today, right? And it was very interesting that literally, when he was talking, it was almost like he was talking about Arsenal.
Exactly.
He was saying that this season they've been too defensive. He's saying Nuno's too negative. He's saying that basically they don't really attack. They're all about counter-attacking. And he was also saying that some of their best players, you know, haven't been playing that great this season. He was saying even Jimenez hasn't played that great. He's saying that, you know, it hasn't been a great performance by Traore this season. Yeah. And he also was saying he really doesn't know what Wolves is going to turn up. So it's going to be a really, really even game because you've got two teams that are more or less similar at the moment. There's only a point separating the two of us.
And that's probably, it's just that Wolves have managed to get a draw instead of a defeat. That's the only thing that separates all of our stats in the league this season, to the extent that we've even scored the same number of goals and even conceded the same number of goals. They are really, really struggling this season, Wolves. You know, we're talking about our handbrake. There's something going on there where it's not clicking for them. They've scored 9 goals all season. And that the crazy thing is, so have we. You know, so we're very, very close, you know, and that's why, in a way, there's no excuse for either of the teams to, you know, not getting a result or whatever, because you're looking at them and you're saying both of these teams, if we turn up, are there to be beaten. So I just can't believe 9 goals we've scored in 9 games, and it's the same for them. And, you know, both conceded 10.
Yeah, sorry, you got a little problem with your mic there. It seems cutting in and out slightly there. But yeah, listen, it is crazy that, you know, both teams are just like on similar form. And it's crazy because both teams have a lot of very talented players within their teams. So it's such a hard game to predict. But as I said in the title, do you think this is the game where Arteta has to let the handbrake off? Or do you think that that style of being pretty cautious is actually going to suit this game more? What do you think?
No, I don't think being cautious will suit it because, you know, I think both teams, it's not clicking. And when it's not clicking, you generally, I feel like you kind of go back into your shell a little bit. It's hard to be expansive and expressive with your football when you know that your form isn't clicking. So I worry that even if Arteta does try and set the team up a bit more positively, it's hard when, you know, when that confidence isn't flowing through your veins. And I think both teams are so poor given what they should be that I think it could end up being like quite a dull, scrappy game. But it's interesting, Robbie, because I listened to what you were talking about with Kevin Campbell, and, you know, we're very, very lucky and privileged to be able to hear what an ex-Arsenal player has got to say, because, you know, I don't think that we're clueless, but he's obviously been in dressing rooms, and he was saying that no, Arteta's not being negative. He's not setting them up negatively. And I was listening to that, and I was thinking to myself, I agree. I don't think Arteta's saying don't run forward and set up negatively or be negative. Of course, he wouldn't say those specific words, would he? But the point is, I think that what he's focusing on and what he is communicating to his team in terms of what's important to him is not the going forward part. It's about the hard work, and it's about, you know, the positional discipline and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that's what transmits through to the players. So without him saying don't go forward, he's saying it's very important to make sure you're goal side and those sorts of things. And I feel like maybe he's just not getting the balance right with how he's communicating it. So I do agree with Kevin Campbell, but I still feel like Arteta needs to be a bit more, maybe like in the way he's speaking, in the way he's trying to get his message across to players, a bit more positivity needs to come through in that communication.
Yeah, I'm still disagreeing with Kev. You know what I mean? I'm still saying that the formation, I mean, look at last night. That was a different formation, wasn't it? That was a more positive formation. I know, again, we're going to say it's only mold on that, but it wasn't 3 at the back. We played a 4 at the back. And we had, to me, that was more like a 4-3-2-1. It was more positive.
Yeah.
And it showed in the game. It showed. You know what I mean? And I just want to, I think I want to see us do something like that a little bit different against Wolves. I don't want to just go and just do the same as what they're doing, just cancel each other out, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, I am very nervous about that game. Even the last Leeds game, we spoke before that, and I said to you, I think it would be 2-2. I thought there'd be goals in that. I was wrong about that. Ended up being a boring affair. But I was right that that was going to be our first draw of the season. And this one, I feel as though it's going to be a low-scoring, tight game. Most likely a draw, and I think one team will nick it. And I don't think it's going to be a moment of free-flowing, beautiful football that will win it. I think it's going to be a case of, a mistake, something scrappy, a bit of luck, that sort of thing. And for that reason, I really feel like Arteta probably won't be expansive, and you probably won't get to see what you want in terms of lineup.
Some great comments coming in there. Tejas says, did anyone see Paul Merson bashing Arteta's tactics yesterday? He said there's no progress from my point of view from Emery. Do you think that there's no progress since Emery?
No, I don't think that. I disagree. I feel like with when you look at like the very high level stats, you might say that, I think Emery might even have more points from the first same number of games or whatever. But when you watch the games with your naked eye as a fan, then you see that there is more control over games. We're conceding a hell of a lot less shots. Obviously, there is that balance that we're obviously scoring less and getting, shots off on goal ourselves. But I think what he's trying to do is establish control in games, because we had no control. I felt like the players almost seemed confused out there on the pitch. They didn't know what was being asked of them. But I do think that the players sincerely know what's being asked of them. I'm just not sure they're enjoying it right now, But yeah. There is an improvement. What about you? Do you think this is Emery?
Listen, what did we win under Unai Emery? Nothing. Mikel Arteta's already won the FA Cup. Of course, there's been improvement. We've gone away under Unai Emery. We didn't go away from home and beat any of the big boys. Under Mikel Arteta, we've gone away. We've beaten Man United. We beat Wolves away last season. We didn't do them sort of things under Emery. So no, I think there's definitely been improvement, but the style needs to improve. Brevat says, Robbie, do you think Eddie needs to go on a season-long loan? He's been in the first team for about a year now, and he's not done anything special. Time to go on loan and give Balogun a shot. Balogun scores 1 goal. But the thing is about Balogun, it was instinctive. That was what I liked about him yesterday. It was in that game yesterday. I don't know if you noticed, there was a lot of players taking too many touches.
Yeah.
Lacazette took too many touches.
Reece Nelson
took too many touches. Too many touches by Eddie. And that is always a sign of somebody, confidence is low, trying too hard to make sure they score.
Yeah.
Balogun just came on, boom, boom.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Now, on the subject of Eddie, he's really had a lot of faith put into him. He's had a lot of, he's a first teamer. He sometimes starts ahead of Lacazette. He started ahead of Aubameyang down the middle even. Does he deserve that right now? We don't want to put a young player down. Listen, he's still making his way, and nobody's suggesting, dumping him or nothing like that. But should he go on loan? Is he ready yet? I remember one time Kevin Campbell saying to me that he thought that Eddie would benefit more from a loan. But Mikel Arteta likes him because he has him a lot in the teams.
Yeah, but look, I'm looking at the minutes. It does feel like Nketiah has appeared a lot this season. I grant you that. But in reality, he's only had 145 minutes of Premier League football this season.
Premier League football.
Huh?
Premier League football.
Yeah.
And he started every game in the Europa League, hasn't he? He started all of those games. He started all the Carabao Cup games. And he's been a couple of those games in the Premier League. If I remember, he started or he's come on and had, significant...
Yeah, but the numbers there, that number doesn't lie. 145 minutes of Premier League football, that's 1.5 games, and we're 9 games in. So my point there is that, yes, he has had Europa League football. Europa League football, though, is not Premier League football. There's a big difference. And also, it's in a team that's not clicking, that's not flowing. Eddie Nketiah is a young striker learning and perfecting his craft. And he's not the sort of striker that will come on and say, I'm going to bully these defenders. I'm going to take control of this game. We've seen other strikers, an evolution in their careers from a young striker to kind of having a bit more savvy about them on the pitch. And Nketiah's not there yet, and that will come. But that's not going to come by playing, Europa League games and then 145 minutes of Premier League football in 9 games. So I think he has appeared a lot, but it hasn't been for enough minutes. But it's a tough decision to put him in, because ultimately, you know, we need to win games and quick. And the more points we drop, the harder it is to not be putting Aubameyang in that position, which makes it even tougher for Nketiah. But what I would say is that Balogun's come in and he's done really, really well. Loved his finish yesterday. Loved the fact that Emil Smith-Rowe set him up. Lovely link up there. But don't you remember Eddie's debut? Don't you remember him coming on against Norwich? Yeah. You know, it was a same impact. It was instinctive. And sometimes when you're not stuck in the, like, you know, this team right now, they're running through treacle. As a youngster, you come into a team, and when you're not concerned by that, you're just kind of doing your own thing, and all of a sudden you're in the team, you carry on your own headspace. It's actually easier for you. Once you become part of that team and you feel that struggle as a collective, as part of that team, it gets you a little bit more. Balogun might come in and he might excel for a couple of games. Happy to give it a try. But ultimately, that team struggle will eventually get into his head. And I think that's what's happening with Nketiah. Let's judge Nketiah, not individually here. Let's judge him alongside the whole team. Which one of our, team player right now would you say is really excelling this season? I'll say I'm happy with Kieran Tierney. I'll say Hector done all right. Bernd Leno's done all right.
Saka.
Yeah, Saka, very good shout. He's done really brilliant.
That's about it.
Yeah, Partey, I mean, he's come in.
Mohamed El Neni as well.
But you know what? There's not many attackers we're talking about here.
No, none of the attackers have pulled up trees. None of them.
Why would Nketiah be different? If anything, we should be looking at Aubameyang and Lacazette.
I guess what they're looking at is if your main guys are not carrying it, we're looking to Eddie to do something. I mean, the thing is, right, you know what? We were discussing this today, and I said, you know what this proves? I mean, some people, I was having a discussion today, and the people were getting on the back of Aubameyang, saying he ain't performed and stuff like that, which he hasn't. This season, Aubameyang has not performed. But what I then started to look at more deeply and say to myself is, it just goes to show that over the last couple of seasons, we have been so dependent upon this guy that there was going to come a time when his form would drop. And that's when you need somebody else to step up and say, all right, Aubameyang, it ain't really happening for you, but don't worry yourself. I got this. You see at Liverpool, right? Firmino, for a lot of last season, weren't really performing, but the other guys were. Yeah. So it's cool. We don't have anybody who stepped into that breach and said, you know, you're looking to Lacazette and you're saying, step into that breach. Aubameyang's not performing, but you now come and he ain't done it. We then look into Eddie and saying, Eddie, step into that breach. Aubameyang's not performing, he ain't done it. So this is part of the problem, and this is why people are looking at the other strikers now and saying, oh, yeah. Because you can't rely on one guy all the time. And that's what we've been doing for the past couple of seasons. We've been relying on one guy.
But listen, Robbie, anyone that really thinks deeply about how you want to integrate a young player into first team football, it's not in a struggling team. You want to integrate a player who's coming in for a striker that's scoring a goal every game. You know, you bring him on when you're 2-3-0 up. Everyone's in good spirits. It's flowing, and he'll get on the ball. You know, be able to play with freedom, rather than when, you know, you're one result away from like, oh, this manager needs to go, and that sort of vibe in the team. Now is not the right time to expose Balogun to the pressures of first team football in a struggling Premier League side.
Why not?
Premier League side. Because it's damaging for his confidence.
No, I disagree with you. Look at last season, yeah? Aubameyang, there was that game he got sent off. Remember, he got sent off. He got that 3-match ban. I can't remember the exact game. But he got sent off for that foul. He got a 3-match ban, yeah? In comes Martinelli. Steps up to the plate. Steps up. Why can't one of the... I mean, listen, it's not an easy thing to do. But you can't just turn around and say, oh, you can't step into a struggling team. He did. He stepped into a struggling team that was very reliant upon Aubameyang, and he stepped up and he done a job.
Martinelli,
not seeing that from Eddie, not seeing that from Lacazette.
Martinelli was already part of the first team, and when Aubameyang isn't,
Yeah, but he wasn't. He was. You'd equate it to the same as Eddie, where he wasn't a regular starter. He was just like on the bench, and he would play now and again. He was. He featured more. He played most of his games Europa League.
Yeah, but
when he called upon to start, he was called upon to start 3 games straight.
Yeah.
Right. When the main man was out, he stepped up, and I think he scored 3 goals as well.
But we're talking about Balogun, so it's not a like-for-like comparison. To make someone do that transition, we're talking about, because with Martinelli, he was in the first team. Balogun, we're talking about him making that transition. And I think that is a lot to ask for a young player. Because look, let's look at it this way. If we play Wolves, he comes on with half an hour to go and misses a couple of chances, and we lose the game 1-0, or we draw the game 0-0. That is not the way to integrate a player. If we're 2-0 up, fine, give him some minutes. But I don't think that we should be saying, because our first 3 strikers aren't doing the job, let's try the 4th. I want to be a bit more cautious with how I integrate Balogun into this team, because the way they start in first team football is so important to the rest of their trajectory as a first teamer and making that transition. It's the hardest thing in football. It's harder to do this, to break out your academy, than it is to go to a different country and play in a different league.
Sometimes you've got to chuck them in, man. If you're old enough, you're good enough, they say. Sometimes just chuck them in. Right? Look at what this guy, PGVO, says, right? He says, Martinelli was making a transition too. He doesn't even know English. That's true. He didn't speak English, right? He's not, he arrived over here from Brazil, wasn't playing in the top leagues in Brazil, by the way. Right, did brilliantly in training. They actually bought in Martinelli, right? If you remember rightly, they said that they bought Martinelli in to be part of the under-23 team. That's what they bought him in for. And then they was impressed with him in training, and then they assimilated him quick into the first team, and he was playing most of his games, in the Europa League, and then he got his chance some games in the first team, and he done well. I mean, this guy, Jermaine, say, Robbie calling for Balogun to start after 1 Europa League game. I didn't say start, but I'm saying you could chuck him in. You could chuck him into the squad and bring him on, and you never know.
Yeah, well, look, as I say, Robbie, I would do it differently. I don't think that's fair on Balogun. We should be putting the onus on Lacazette. He has been nowhere this season, given that he's had chances down the middle and Aubameyang hasn't been firing. No one can criticise Aubameyang as far as I'm concerned. He's never gonna avoid having a little spell of bad form or whatever. But in that moment, you want Lacazette. The fact that we're talking about Balogun, honestly, is damning on Lacazette. Never mind Nketiah, but Lacazette especially, is absolutely damning on him.
Carlos says kids like Pedri and Ansu playing for Barcelona. Get serious and play Balogun. That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. Ansu Fati playing for. No, but why are you shaking your head? He's younger than Balogun.
Where are Barcelona?
He's been thrown in. They've said, "Oh, in you go," because you know why he's been thrown in? Because the strikers have not been performing. They've got results.
Where are Barca in their league?
Barca in their league. I think they're about 3rd or 4th, are they, or something like that.
They're having a shocking season.
But he's played well, hasn't he, Ansu?
No, he hasn't.
Played well?
No. This season, none of them are playing well. Even like
he's played all right this season. What are you talking about?
There's that Puig youngster as well. He hasn't got a look in. Last season they were playing, but they're all struggling this year. And I'm going to pull up the league. Barcelona are 13th in the league. So listen, let me just say this. You thought they were 3rd or 4th, yeah? They're 13th in the league. They're having an awful season. And that's because Messi, he's not happy there. He's not performing. Griezmann's bitching about Messi. He's not performing. They've let go of Suarez, and they're trying to put in these youngsters, and it's been all wrong. Their transition into the first team has been all wrong, and Barcelona are suffering the consequences of that. So really, if anything, that completely backs up my point.
No, it doesn't, because the kids have actually been playing all right.
They haven't.
It's the senior players that haven't played. It's the senior players that haven't been performing.
Listen, you thought Barcelona were third or fourth. They're not.
All right, yeah, I got that wrong, but
Yeah,
the
you're wrong
senior
about the
players,
kids playing all right.
you just said yourself.
No,
You
they
just said yourself. It's the senior players like Messi and that ain't performing. Cass 888 Cass says, I disagree with Mo. You can't wait for the perfect conditions. This is top level football. You might not get many chances. You know, I'm just putting it out there as a suggestion. I'm not saying that, you know, he should be straight into the team, but you know, why not throw in a kid if he's got the talent? Sometimes you put him in. I'm not saying you don't put him in like start him from now till the rest of the season, but start bringing him in and bringing some of these youngsters in a bit. I don't see nothing wrong there. I think Reece, for instance, Nelson, should start at the weekend. I will put him in ahead of Willian, even if Willian is fit.
Yeah, so would I. Reece Nelson's a first teamer, and I don't think there's an issue in doing that. But when we're talking about Balogun, I think you've got it completely wrong. And also I think the other factor is Ben Random. You know, he got in touch with me today, and he said the same thing. He goes, "What do you think about Eddie on loan and integrate Balogun to the first team?" And I said, look, you know, I think that if Balogun all of a sudden jumps the pecking order as in the first team, I think that's not beneficial for Nketiah. I think that you know, damages his confidence as well. As I said, Nketiah has had 145 minutes of Premier League football this season. To then let him get Balogun up in the pecking order instead of him shows a complete lack of faith in him and his ability. I don't think it's a good management style to do that, because Nketiah would be sitting there thinking, hold on a second, I've not really had much of a chance in the league. You know, at least fully give him a chance, at least give him some real backing before you go to Balogun. So I think you guys, the comments that are coming in, and you, Robbie, I think 100% wrong on this.
Okay. Terry says, can I ask you if you think Lacazette is finished? He's played poorly up front, and it didn't work out in the number 10 role against Mulder.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't impressed with his performance against Mulder, to be honest with you. With Lacazette, sometimes I feel like, you know, I don't know how much time he expects on the ball. You know, I want him to be a bit more fluid. You know, it really bothers me. And when he first came to the club, I felt like he was so much more clinical than what he is now. And I guess you can really put that down to confidence. But the reality is, I like Lacazette. I really wanted him to join the club. You know, if you go back, you'll probably be able to dig out interviews where I was calling for him. So it's always a bit of humble pie when you are calling for a player, and then the reality is they don't hit the expectations that you claimed that they would have. But I am looking at Lacazette now thinking, well, this isn't the guy that I thought would, you know, that I'd see on the pitch. You know, he's been real letdown, especially this season.
Yeah. Jermaine says it's not fair on Balogun, Robbie. Mo is right. Interstate him, I think he means integrate him in properly. Eddie and Nelson deserve chances too, and Arsenal fans are sharks, right? Let me ask you this. How old was Saka when he started playing? And he's played loads of first-team football. He's played, the other day, played for England 3 games straight. How old is he?
I'm not bothered about age. I don't care about age. I haven't once mentioned
That's what I'm saying. What's wrong with throwing in a Balogun?
No, because I'm not.
I'm not. As I said, I'm not saying starting. But what's wrong with that? How old was Saka? Was 17.
I have not mentioned that once.
Huh?
It's not about age for me.
No, you're saying about throwing someone in. You're on about it's too early. Got to take your time. Can't throw. Saka was thrown in. Saka last season was even being asked at times to play in positions that ain't even his position. He played a big run of games at left back. And they said at the time he's never even played left back even in the youth team, and he still played well. And sometimes, Mo, you got to throw them in.
Yeah, and
throw them in and see what they do.
Times, Robbie. Sometimes you do. This is not one of those times. Saka, we needed someone there because we had an injury crisis at left back. With Balogun, we have got Lacazette, we have got Nketiah, and that's all.
They're not performing,
and neither's Aubameyang. So what we're just going to say, all three of you, that's it. We're going to put Balogun in, or even on the bench.
As I said, I'm not saying starting, but I'm I would not be against on Sunday, Aubameyang, I want him to play down the middle again. That's what I'd like to see, right? But if he weren't performing, I wouldn't be against the manager saying, Balogun, warm up, you're coming in the second half or something like that. I wouldn't be against that at all. Amit says, brilliant show. If you look at Trent at Liverpool, he came in over Klein, who was a dependable right back. I mean, Klein was injured. If they're good enough, play them.
And that Liverpool was a clicking Liverpool team. When you're not clicking, it's not fair to put that pressure. Imagine.
Weren't clicking when he came in. Weren't a clicking team when Trent Alexander-Arnold came in.
Arsenal, they were better than Arsenal, Robbie. And the point is, we are awful right now. It's not fair. If the media scrutiny and the pressure on Balogun, if he has to come on against Wolves when we haven't got a 2-3-0 lead, is way too much expectation on a player, and this is just why you're all not managers. Because, boy, honestly, I think it would be really unfair on him.
Arsenal Queen says, Mo, you're waiting for perfect conditions. It may never come. Meanwhile, we're going to be sliding down the table. Nketiah and Laka have both had a lot of chances, and they have not taken them.
Nketiah hasn't had a lot of chances.
Yeah, a lot more than Balogun.
But doesn't mean he's had a lot of...
I think he's been he's been in and around. He has. I think this season he's had quite a lot of chances.
Robbie, I just told you how many minutes Nketiah has had. 145. That's not a lot of chances in the league. So, you know,
it's a decent amount. It's a decent amount.
He's got Listen, he's got one Premier League goal in 145 minutes. You know, it's not a bad return.
That's not a bad return.
Yeah, in 145. That's 2 goals.
1 goal.
Robbie, that's 2 goals every 3 games.
You know, you could argue that, you know, Balogun's got 1 goal in about 10 minutes. I mean, stop these stats, man. Stop these stats. He ain't really, in the games he's come on, has he performed? No, wait a minute. Cut the stats a second. Has he performed? I don't care how many minutes he's played. Has he performed, Mo?
Who, Nketiah?
Yeah. In the minutes he's played, has he performed?
He's been all right. No one's performed. No one's performed.
I'm willing this kid, right? I'm willing this kid to be, I want him to be, I love to see, and people will know this who know me, right? I love to see when players come through the academy and make it all the way and play. I feel like connected to those guys, man. They've come through. I know how hard it is to come through an academy and make it as a top player. I want Eddie Nketiah to succeed. But at the moment, it's not working for him. And I'm saying this, right? I'm saying that come Sunday, I would like to see Balogun on the bench, right? And if, 15 minutes left, I would not be against throwing him in. I would. He's got a very good record in the academy. He's been scoring goals for fun. They've been talking him up for a while. Sometimes give him his head. Let's see what he can do. Mossy Boy says Balogun's a very good striker. Can play alongside Aubameyang. They are both quick and can score goals. Listen, I'm not comparing him to any of them. I'm not even comparing him to really an Eddie. I'm just saying that this could be his opportunity. This could be the time.
It's a nonsense. Honestly, this conversation is an absolute nonsense. And the reality is, we can talk about it as much
as nonsense.
It's an absolute nonsense. And Mikel Arteta, he'd be laughing his ass off if you saw this. He will not put Balogun in the team on the weekend because that is a complete,
squad.
It will completely undermine Eddie Nketiah, who has, as much as you guys claim it, has not had enough of a chance to stake a claim in 145 minutes. I'm not going to go away from the stats just because they don't suit your narrative.
How's he played? How's he played when he's had his chances?
He's been fine. He has been fine.
No.
Not a single person out there is blaming Nketiah. Not a single.
I am not blaming. I'm not blaming Nketiah.
And it's not getting Nketiah and saying, "Oh, you haven't been good enough." There's established players. All that we're going to do, we're going to bring Balogun in and into a struggling team. He's not going to do it. We'll chuck him on the pile of Arsenal players to criticise. The fact that Nketiah, we've given up our faith on him so quickly is just appalling.
I'm not giving up faith of him. Maybe he needs to come out of the firing line a bit himself, right? I've not given up faith on him. But if we went by what you're saying, we wouldn't have seen Martinelli. We wouldn't have seen Saka. No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't have seen them. I told you already. I said to you already.
First team, you integrate them properly. Let Balogun be a first teamer for a while. Then he can start getting a few more minutes.
So when do you let him be a first teamer then? When's that start?
Hey, being a first teamer who you train with, it's about what your match day routine is. Let him get used to all of these things. Getting used to play. Obviously, you know it's not the case now, but getting used to playing in front of crowds, in front of the world's media, in front of all of that press, in front of that microscope that is being a Premier League footballer. Let him kind of get used to being around that, and then you put him on the pitch. What you guys are suggesting is an absolute nonsense, and no sensible manager is going to do it just that calmly. It's easy to say it on a podcast. In reality, it's not as simple as we're making out.
All right, let's get into the comments. There's loads of people commenting on this. MTJ7 says, I don't rate Eddie, but I do agree with Mo. Aubameyang hasn't performed this season. What makes you think Balogun would work in this system? Tejas says, Emery had the balls to introduce Saka, Martinelli, Willett, and Nelson. And Emil Smith wrote to the first team, but Arteta prefers to old expired players. Look, Mo, I like this one. I like this one, right, Mo? Dangerous gamers. Chelsea proving it, playing youngsters like Mount and Abraham. Last year, I wouldn't even so much put the Abraham one in it, but last year, how many youngsters did he have to throw in? I wouldn't even include those two, Mount and Abraham, because they had loan moves. They were playing a lot of football, right? The one I'd look at is Reece James.
This is too easy.
Reece James, right? A youngster.
They had a transfer ban.
I know, and they had to play him. And look now some of their best players were those young guys.
And they also tailed off. But
some of those players that are their best players are those same youngsters. Reece James, right? He's keeping Aspilicueta out the team.
Aspilicueta is a grand.
If you hadn't been for the transfer ban, you wouldn't have known about none of these players. They wouldn't have got a chance. They would not have got a chance, Mo. Sometimes you've got to throw them in, and then you find out how good they are.
I swear. This is more stressful than watching Arsenal. Chelsea had a transfer ban. They did not have a choice. When Saka came into the team, we had a left-back crisis. We did not have a choice. Sometimes players will sink.
Got a crisis now.
No, listen. Sometimes when you don't have a choice and you do these things, players will sink or swim. I am not willing, with academy graduates, to just chuck them in so casually and watch them sink or swim. For me, you try as much as you can to do things in the right way, integrate them in the right way. Look at how Arsene Wenger brought Anelka into the team, for example. Look how he brought Fabregas into the team, for example. You don't just chuck them in when the team is struggling. You do it with an understanding of how difficult it is for that player and what pressure they go through. So you're giving examples where we had no choice, or where people had no choice. But where players have choice, where managers have had a choice to integrate players, they do it sensibly. This is not a sensible approach. No matter what examples you give me, I'm not going to accept them. Next, you'll be saying, oh, but look at Pele. He was in the Brazil team at 17. You know, there's generational talents. And then we're talking about Balogun.
Under you, we wouldn't have seen Pele under you. You'd probably be about under what you're saying. Pele would have come. He's about 28. Ryan says, why don't we do the same as we did with Nketiah and Martinelli? Give him chances in Europe. If he shows, then give him chances in the Premier League. Nicole says, both Laka and Nketiah have wasted important opportunities. Look at yesterday. Even the look on Nketiah's face said it all when he missed them. I mean, he had that header. That he should have buried that header. I was like, oh, come on, Eddie, man, you got to bury that. Arsenal Queen says we have a striker crisis. We cannot keep persisting with Laka and Eddie. We'll be 20th by Mo's plan, right? I mean, sometimes if you're old enough, if you're young enough and you're performing, throw them in. It might not work, but throw him in. You might put him in and it don't work, and you say, all right, you know what? didn't quite work. We'll take him back out again and play you in the Europa League. But I certainly would have him on the squad, in the squad at the weekend, and I would not be against Balogun being thrown in ahead of Eddie Nketiah in that game.
Really, what we're doing is that we're hitting the point. You know, we're talking about this striker crisis. It's not a striker crisis. We've got a world-class striker.
No, we've got a striker. We've got a crisis at the moment. Maybe not a striker crisis as in the players, but we're not scoring no goals. You said it right at the start of the show. 9 goals.
But the reason for that is not our strikers. The reason for that is creativity. So it doesn't matter if Balogun comes in, Ozil's still sitting at home, he's still our best creative player. Until we go and solve that creativity issue, Balogun, Nketiah, Lacazette, Aubameyang, everyone, they're going to struggle. We've seen that enough this season. So we're missing the point entirely.
I love this next comment. Remember that one? Oh, you gone quiet now, eh?
So what?
Love that overlord of procrastination. Big up yourself, man. What you got to say to that?
Well, it's just a nonsense. I didn't. You're asking me as if I said it. I didn't say it.
No, you remember that though? That famous one.
Yeah, but it's not applicable. I can give you a quote from some Buddhist monk.
Oh, you're quick to throw facts, stats at me and that, but when you see something like that now, that's not applicable.
That's not a fact. That's not a stat.
No, but it's not. But you remember it, innit? That's not applicable.
Just because I remember, no, it's not applicable. Just because I remember it doesn't make it applicable. What kind of logic is that?
No, you're saying it's not applicable. It is applicable.
Of course, it's not applicable. When am I? I never said you can't win anything with kids.
Yeah, but you're basically sort of saying that at the moment.
No, I'm not. Not at all. I said integrate them properly.
Davish says, hey, Robbie, Chelsea had a better system, except they had a better academy now. We've got a good academy as well, right? Arsenal have a really poor structure for a long time. It's changing. We've got a great academy. What are you talking about, right? George says, one example, Rooney. We're at 17 years of age. Where did he come and make his name? Arsenal. Banged in that goal. Remember that? Thrown in, right? And the same sort of thing. Rooney was a well-known talent amongst the academy level. Thrown in, bang, off he went, lift off.
The comparison is so awfully ridiculous right now, honestly.
Why? Balogun has got a great record, hasn't he? Like of scoring goals in academy football. Got a fantastic record, hasn't he?
Loads of players have a fantastic record. We let a player go, Sam Green, brilliant record in academy football. We let him go to Leeds. Arturo Lupoli, young Arsenal player. He had a brilliant record. He was very, very highly rated. He never made it. Just because Rooney did doesn't mean Balogun won't. Lupoli didn't. Remember Gideon Zelalem? He was really rated. Nothing happened with him. Remember Fran Merida? Really highly rated. Nothing happened with him. You know, it's a nonsense to just cherry pick players.
You're missing the point. I'm not saying Balogun is going to be any better than Eddie. I'm not saying Balogun is going to be better than Lacazette. But I'm saying I'm not against, after him scoring that goal last night, and it's not me getting overexcited, sometimes when we're lacking goals, throw them in.
You're absolutely
throw a player in, bring him off the bench, throw it.
You're absolutely you are. Because, listen, when you do things sensibly, when you do things properly, you don't just say, oh, he scored a goal, let's put him in again. You actually say to yourself, look, is he ready for it? You take a step back and you make a sensible decision. The problem in our team is that Aubameyang has had the same number of shots this season, just shots, not on target, not off target, not goals, shots. He's had the same number of shots as Trent Alexander-Arnold and the same number of shots as Harry Maguire. I mentioned this to you last time. Last time we spoke. The last time we spoke, Maguire had more shots than Aubameyang. Now they're equal. That is the problem in our team. The strikers are not getting anything. Balogun is not going to turn up on the pitch, decide he's going to be Thierry Henry that day, pick up the ball in his own half and go and score a goal. We need to raise the level of this conversation.
No, because you're twisting it up, right? This is not you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, all right, let me break it down into a nutshell. This is what I'm saying. If at the weekend we're playing against Wolves, it's not happening for us, right? This guy said it, right? There's clearly a confidence problem. Surely giving Balogun 20 minutes at the end of a game would only serve to help the team. Right now, there's 20 minutes to go. It's 0-0 against Wolves. I turn around as the manager and I see there's Eddie sat there, there's Balogun sat there. I'd put Balogun on this particular Sunday. I would put Balogun on because I'd say, you know what? During the week, you came on, you banged in a goal. Kids, go out there and try and do it again.
Right.
Eddie, it's no disrespect on you, Eddie. Just chill a bit. I'm going to throw Balogun in. I'm going to try something different. Balogun, go in, be fearless, and get me a goal. I'd do that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's start. I'm not saying he's better than Lacazette. I'm not even saying he's better than Eddie. But I'm saying at this moment in time, as you said, where there may be very few chances, I might just send him on because I'm like, you know what? The other guys, they're trying too hard. They're taking too many touches, as we said at the start of the show. Let me throw in a guy that might be a bit more instinctive if that one chance falls to him. And that's what I'm saying.
And what I would do is I would say, I look at the bench and I'd say all season, what we've been struggling with is creating chances. So I'd look at the bench and I'd say, Emil Smith-Rowe, you got 20 minutes, go and do that number 10 job that we should actually be talking about. We've got a world-class striker on the pitch, go and try and create 1 or 2 chances for him. And that's what I would say. The fact that we're going on and on and on about the striker issue shows that we're completely missing the point. Is ESR, if anyone who's already had some first team exposure, and I feel like it's the right time for him to come in and say, okay, try and fill that hole that our team is so severely lacking.
Grumpy Doctor says, if a youngster's mentality is ready, they'll play. Look at Martinelli, Saka, and that's another one. Guendouzi. They flourish because they're ready. Let our manager be the judge for that. Exactly.
Is Guendouzi?
Mercedes says, 11 says, yes, but you're saying the lack of confidence is coming from the system. So how is putting Balogun on going to solve this? I didn't say the lack of confidence is coming from the system. I think the system is another problem where we're a bit too negative. I think our strikers definitely at the moment have a lack of confidence. I think our strikers are overthinking it when the ball comes. Lacazette yesterday, trying to have too many touches. Also, Eddie yesterday, trying to have too many touches. Whereas Eddie, he's playing for the England 21s. I've seen him in some of those games. He's instinctive. Bang.
Robbie, you know, only 4 teams in the league have had less shots than Arsenal this season. West Brom, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Newcastle United. Okay, only 4 teams have had less shots. Balogun is not going to solve it. We need to change the system. The reason why we've had that, sort of track record with getting shots off is not because of our strikers. I know they're not playing well. Don't get me wrong, but it's because of the system. So as I keep on saying, put the right in to feed the strikers. If anything, put on Emil Smith-Rowe, who has showed unbelievable promise, who got the assist yesterday. But why are we not talking on Thursday? Why are we not talking about him?
You're going to get into a lot of trouble with Kevin Campbell now if you start saying it's the system. Yeah, the other night, you don't like that word when you start blaming the system.
No, I'm not saying this. Kevin Campbell said the system is set up to be negative. I'm not saying Arteta is intentionally making us negative, but I think even Kevin Campbell would agree, and I'm going to have to tweet him after this now, even Kevin Campbell would agree that the system is not working right now. And that's my point.
No, he didn't. The other night he said there's nothing wrong with the system. He said that it's the players.
No,
absolutely nothing to do with the system.
I'm going to try and get a response out now. If he thinks that so far this season the system has worked, he might think that no, the system we can persist with it. He might think it will work, but no one will sit here and tell you when we've had 9 points out of 9 games, and we're 13th in the league, wherever the hell we are, that the system is working. Kevin Campbell will not say that.
He did say that. He did say that. He's on the show the other night. He said that.
This,
He had a big argument. He wanted to keep in a friendly way. Me and Kev get on great. He was going at me hard, man, because he's saying it's not the system. The system is fine. He's saying it's the players.
You are like, you cause a lot of mischief. I'll tell you that right now. You're this kind of guy.
I'm not causing mischief. That's what you said.
You are causing mischief. If Kevin Campbell turns around to me and says, "No, the system hasn't worked," he can still believe in the system. He might not think the system is negative, but if he turns around to me and says, "Yeah, I agree that the system hasn't worked. It hasn't proved fruitful this season." If he says that, then it just sums you up. You only hear what you want to hear.
You hear what Arsenal Queen's going to tell you. He said that, Mo. I was team Don Robbie, right? He was giving me a lot of stick the other night. He's giving me a lot of stick. He said, it's not. He goes, there's nothing wrong with the system, right? He goes, it's the players. I'm telling you, you got to watch back. I mean, you missed the show the other night. If you watch back the show, he said it. That's what he said. So I'm telling you, he won't be happy with you. I'll tell you that.
From what I watched of the show, he was saying that the system is fine in that, it's overly negative. But what I'm saying is, has the system given us the required results? Has it actually worked so far this season? I'm sure he'll say no to that. And if he doesn't, I'm wrong. And I'll apologize for calling you a mischief maker. But you are. I know you are. I've been around.
No, listen, the other night, how the argument started is I'm saying what you're saying. I'm saying, Kev, right, as far as I'm concerned, I don't like the system we've been playing in a lot. The system, so that specifically I was saying that how it kind of started is I was saying, that system against Man United away, perfect. Worked brilliantly, was the right way to play them with their attacking players, and away from home, Old Trafford, perfect. But I said to him, I go, why is it the next game, when we played against Aston Villa, we went with the same system against them? I felt at home, it was a bit negative to do that.
I agree.
And then he's like, no, there was nothing wrong with that system. It's the right system to play. It was the players.
But Robbie, we're saying different things here because I agree with everything you've just said, yeah? But my point is, when you look at the fact that Arsenal have only had 82 shots in 9 Premier League games this season, only 4 teams have had less shots than us. When you look at the fact that we've only delivered 9 points, 4 wins, 4 defeats and a draw, all of that unarguably shows that whether the system is the right setup or not is not quite working right now.
Well, and you try telling that to him because he weren't having it. And I have to get you back when he's on next.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'll get him on next week. I've got to get you in, man, because he weren't having it. He was not having it.
But, what I'll do, Robbie, I'll ask him, I'll say to him, whether you agree with the system or not.
Sucking up to him. See, me, I stood firm. I stood firm when I said, no, I know you're an ex-player. I know you're a legend. I know I loved you as a player, but I'm standing firm on my opinion. Yeah. I don't like the system in some of these games.
Yeah.
And he give it to me. He's going hard.
I saw that, and it's not easy to do that because there is a belief in the football community that ex-players' opinions are there and then fans' opinions are here.
No, to be fair, he won't be like that, though.
Not him. Not Kevin. I'm talking about generally the football community. If a fan disagrees with a player or an ex-player, people say, well, what do you know? You're only a fan. But that house of cards I've never believed in because you even get ex-players disagreeing with each other. You'll have 2 players who have played in the same dressing room or played at the same level, and they'll disagree with each other. And one of them will side with one fan, the other one will side with another fan. It's a complete mixed bag. You know your football. I know my football. Kevin knows his football. But I am sure if I say to him, has the system that we're playing actually worked so far this season? I'm sure he'll say, all right, clearly it hasn't worked.
No, he'll say it didn't. He said it hasn't worked because of the players. He said there's nothing wrong with the system. Ask him.
Fair enough, yeah.
We're coming towards the end of the show. It's been a great show, by the way. Mo's great as usual. Always arguing. That's what he's like. You know what? It's what I love about Mo. Like when football's on, he's one of my favourite people for when we're going to games together because you can never fall asleep. Because he'll be just going, all right, we'll be on. Do you remember that time he was arguing about what makes an ideal striker?
No, it was how many goals
How many goals?
did a top level striker get in the
Yeah, that's it. And then you changed it about 10 times on the way up.
You're mischievous, man.
He changed it. He starts on he changed it about 10 times. And you like, this guy,
You know what, me and Robbie on the way back from away games, I basically start a conversation because I know Robbie's going to say some nonsense, and then we'll all stay awake in the car because we'll argue about it all the way home. And then I've had to do voice recordings of Robbie because he changes his what he's saying. He'll slyly, subtly change the goalposts.
That's you.
Like a week, honestly.
Get out of here, man. Right.
Robbie,
Mossy Boy says, Mo, if you're in charge, what will be your lineup for the Wolves game? Quickly give me your lineup.
well, do you know what? I need to actually brush up on who we've got available. But Tierney, Bellerin, I would have Gabriel, Holding, and Leno. Saka is injured. Pepe suspended. Willian gets nowhere near. So it'd have to be. I don't know about El Neni and Partey. I'm guessing they're both still out.
Yeah, Partey's not looking good. I haven't heard no news about El Neni coming back either. So it'll have to be Xhaka and Ceballos.
Bios, you've obviously got Willian as an option. But then I would put in Reece Nelson. And it'd have to be Oba. And the tough one for me, is it Laka or is it Eddie?
Do you know what I'm thinking? You know, I was thinking, Mo, I mean, with Pepe being out and with obviously Willian, that looks like that he'd probably be out anyway, by the sounds of it. I wouldn't mind seeing a two up front.
Yes, this is what I said.
I wouldn't mind seeing a two, Lacazette and Aubameyang up front.
Yeah, I'm trying to be realistic here, but I guess, the question is that if I was in charge, I would be so tempted to just say, let's just do 4-4-2. Because Aubameyang and Lacazette, when they have played up top together, they have played well together. There have been so many moments where I've been like, yeah, you two play. And I would want to see that. I'd love to see that. And then, as I say, the one trump card I would have is Emile Smith-Rowe on the bench.
Well, mine would be, I put, more or less the same thing as what you're saying. And then as I said, I wouldn't mind to see Aubameyang and Lacazette up front. And if it ain't quite happening, bring on Balogun. Yeah. Mo, thank you very much, man, for tonight. Thank you for coming on. A pleasure as usual. Let's hope we can get a win on Sunday. It's going to be a really tough game. Let's hope we can have a good game, a good performance from Arsenal as well. Yeah. It'd be nice to see, we haven't really had a top performance at home this season. But Mo, just before you go there, what do you make of the 2,000 fans being let in?
Do you know what? I'm not going to go. Because, there've been some games where there's been like 40,000 fans in a 60,000 seater. And it's Europa League games where people don't turn up or whatever. And the atmosphere on those cold evenings, it's so dull. And I just think to myself, this is not why I go to football. When you look at images of passionate football stadiums, it's about the atmosphere and the fans and that, that feeling. That once it gets into your veins, you love it. And that's why we go back every week. 2,000 people sitting there. I was watching a game yesterday in the Europa League where, in fact, it was our game, wasn't it? Where, they had the
fans in. Look at that the legendary Arsenal fan that was there.
Yeah. One guy. But shout out to him, by the way. But, you saw those fans. Everyone was just sitting there. It might as well have been cardboard cutouts. For me, I go to games for the atmosphere, purely for the atmosphere. I know someone like you obviously go for the prawn sandwiches and that sort of thing. I go for the atmosphere. So the point is, 2,000 fans in a 60,000 seater stadium, yeah, there'd be that curiosity. But no, I'd rather be home. Do you know what I mean? I've got better things to do than just to sit there by myself. You can't even get a song going because, there's not enough people there to do it.
You can't tell me, though, you wouldn't have liked to have been that one guy who was there last night, man. He was a don.
He was a don. Robbie, listen, when we played Rapid Vienna, I actually looked for flights out of Vienna because even they had fans in and I couldn't get a return flight. So I was like, I don't want to be stuck in Vienna for 4 days, right? Had I been able to, I would have gone and done that. I would have loved any Arsenal fan. We can't lie. It would be nice to be that one guy. You know,
that guy is the don of all dons, man. I rated him, man.
Nice. But, you know, when it's 2000, like, there's not even a novelty there of being the only one. That's something to, like, you have some pictures, you know, to come out of that day and stuff. 2000, for me, it's a bit of a nonsense. But look, health comes first. And, you know, ultimately, they've got to do what they've got to do. I don't understand it completely. They're about as consistent as Arsenal, how they're treating the north of the country with lower rates than lower R rates than the south. I don't know what's going on. But for me, 2,000 fans in a football game, would you renew your season ticket every year if that's what you're getting?
Well, obviously it's not going to be 2,000 every week, but listen, I'm going to try tomorrow to see if I can get. I don't know. I wouldn't mind going. You know, I just like going and be able to see the players. I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not going to be. You're not even allowed to sing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Apparently not. No.
Oh,
and you're not allowed to sing.
Loads of Arsenal fans would be queuing up for those tickets. But you know, Robbie, as well, that when they did the ban, I had to think really long and hard about that because obviously there's a pandemic going around and I've got a wife at home as well. So I actually made the decision this season that I wouldn't go to the games because, you know, I don't want to be risking anything. And that's when there was going to be a lot more fans. So for me, taking that risk, and it might not be the risk in the ground, but public transport and around the club shop, whatever it might be, I don't think it's worth for me, the pregnant wife, taking that risk. So I'm not going to be doing it, and I'm not be sitting there wishing that I was one of the 2,000. But you know, it'll be interesting to see it.
Yeah, well, Mo, thank you very much, mate. As usual, we're talking about a big win, great football, and the winning goal from Balogun on Sunday. That'd be fantastic. Thanks a lot, Mo. Have a great weekend.
One last thing, Robbie. It's obviously the first time I'm coming on after the news about Heavy D. So just rest in peace, Heavy D. Really shocking. And yeah, obviously, you know, the AFTV, all of us associated with AFTV, obviously, like shocked by that. So
I'm still in shock, man.
Yeah. Any of his friends or family watching, then obviously thoughts and love goes out to you guys. But yeah, rest in peace, Heavy D. And also Diego. He obviously wanted someone to keep up there. So Heavy
D will keep Maradona company. Don't worry, man. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Thanks, Mo. Thank you very much. And see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.